What's up, everybody? Mannun here with Witch in the Working, and today we have a really special episode where we're going to talk about Reiki. And I have with us today a Reiki practitioner who's been involved with Reiki for years, and just recently, in the last year, got certified in this. So it's really cool. I always liked Reiki. I myself am a first degree Reiki practitioner, but I was done, I guess, initiated, or I don't know what you would call it, but like a long time ago. I don't remember squat about it. I do have like a little diploma thing, but I never pursued it. It's like I did it with my ex-wife, and that was it. And then I never went back to it again, just not because I didn't like it or anything, just because I just didn't. But that being said, I wanted to learn more about it, and Reiki revolves around the witchcraft community all the time. So I thought it would be awesome to hit on it, and talk about it a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of you out there, if not everybody, knows about Reiki, and it's just a matter of, have you ever experienced it and whatnot. So without further ado, we are going to introduce our guest today, and this is Andrea, and tell us about yourself.
Hello. So you're right. I've been in love with Reiki my whole life, but I was fortunate enough to be certified, or it's actually, the word is called attuned, earlier this year, in the beginning of the year. So I got my first and second degree. This year I'm working on third. Third just means that I can start attuning other people. That's the only difference between second and third, is that when I become third, I can attune other people and teach them. So, and then also, very exciting, is I am also an animal Reiki practitioner as of today, officially. So.
And aren't you going to be doing some animals coming up for a function of some kind?
Yeah, actually, somebody just reached out to me, and I'm still I actually am going to be talking to them today about the details of it. But it's a nonprofit organization, and they're doing a dog day, yoga day. And they wanted to have an animal Reiki practitioner there, so they asked me to come and donate my services. So I think it's next weekend or the weekend after. So I'm really excited about that. I'll have all the details later today.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I just had to turn off my air conditioner. Totally forgot it was going. It usually makes a bad hum. All right. So very cool. So what is Reiki exactly? So explain what it is.
Okay, so Reiki is, the word itself means life force energy, and it's an energy that is in all of us, animals, plants, everything that has energy is life force energy. And it's an energy that lives within all of us, that needs to be cleared and cleaned and energized, and basically life force energy. It's what gives us all life. It's what gives everything life.
All right. How did it come about? What's the history of it?
So there's a lot of history of it. It's sort of, you can get into even, there's things that say, when Jesus was healing people, this is what he was using. And then there's actually something that says that in Japan, there was a professor named Mikao Usui, that his students said to him, they wanted to learn about this energy that was healing people. And so he went on a mission, and it's debatable whether that happened or not, as far as the students and what they said, and if he had students. Mm-hmm. But Mikao Usui actually did go on a sabbatical, and he was fasting in the mountains, and he wanted to find this energy, this healing energy that he, everybody had knew about, but not really knew how to do it or where to find it or what it was. Mm-hmm. So in the 1800s, he goes and, he's on a mountain, and he hasn't eaten for days, and he gets up, I guess halfway or almost to the top of the mountain, and he starts this bright light, and then he starts seeing these symbols, and he says, "Oh my, this is it. This is happening. This is it." And so he accepts all of this stuff, and he accepts it as it's happening, and he welcomes it, and he sees it. And so as he's leaving and going back down the mountain, he actually hurts his foot, and immediately takes his hands and puts it on his foot and healed his foot and was able to walk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so after that, he started healing people, he started teaching people and passing it along till eventually somebody brought it over to Hawaii, and then brought it over here, and there's been school after school after school of people teaching this.
So it's kind of like a lay of hands technique in a way.
It is, whenever you hurt yourself, let's say your tooth hurts, you immediately are going like this. Your arm hurts, you immediately go like this. And so with Reiki, when you're attuned to Reiki and you're able to turn the light switch on and have the Reiki heighten within you, that's what you're doing. You're actually, you become a conduit, and you're administering it through your hands. Okay. So you're putting your hands over people, animals, whatever it is. Some people do it to their food, so when they ingest the food, they feel like it's like practitioners will do it to their food and ingest the food. So it's definitely, you don't have to touch the person.
Right.
You can just lay your hands over the person to administer the Reiki to them.
Right.
And it'll find its way. Like the Reiki will find its way to wherever it's supposed to go. If you have a problem in your stomach, I don't have to touch your stomach in order to heal it or to give it the healing energy. The Reiki will find what's hurting in you or what needs the energy, and it will go to that.
Right. So I know we had talked before, and you were saying that there was where you like energize people's chakras and stuff. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay, so in my sessions, and I think most of the people who are giving Reiki might do this, but so when I'm administering Reiki, I will open your chakras, just kind of like opening a jar, and just open them. And then when I'm administering Reiki, I sort of envision in my mind and on you that the Reiki is going into your chakras and balancing them out to make sure that they are spinning correctly and that there's no blockages. And they say like when, as a practitioner, when I'm attuned to the Reiki, that it is balancing my chakras as well.
Wow.
Okay. when it's flowing through me. So
when you actually that's a good question. So like when you are when you're healing people, do you actually end up can you take on like energy as well, like good or bad, or is it like blocked?
No, since when you're a Reiki practitioner and you're attuned to Reiki, you're just a conduit. So your energy is not being affected at all.
Oh, okay.
It's just the energy flowing through you like a vessel. You're like a vessel, and you're just allowing it to come through you and go to that person or that animal or whatever it is that you're doing. It should not affect your energy at all. The Reiki will affect me and my energy because it's flowing through me, but the other person and my energy should not be mixing. Gotcha.
So you had mentioned that you need to be attuned to work with Reiki. Can like anybody do this, or is it like certain people, or how does that work?
So anybody who has been attuned all the way up to a master Reiki level can attune anybody else. So anybody can can do it. You have to open yourself up. If you want to be a Reiki practitioner, you have to open yourself up. You have to listen to your intuition. You have to accept Reiki, but anybody can be attuned if that's what they want. But you have to be attuned by a Reiki master.
Right.
Because there's certain symbols, and like with Mikao Usui, when he started doing it, he didn't just give out symbols. So people didn't know symbols.
Right.
The symbols, when he taught people, they were written down and immediately discarded. So it was very secretive. And all through that time, nobody knew these symbols. It sounds familiar, but nobody knew these symbols. And even, if you were in a classroom or you were learning from him, you had to keep it in your mind. And if you drew it in that classroom, because you have to draw the symbols when you're giving Reiki, they're like light switches. You draw them on your hand, in your mind, the roof of your mouth with your tongue. These days you can find the symbols anywhere, but back then it was very secretive, and only as you were being attuned would you get access to these symbols.
But those symbols, even if you have access to the symbols right now and you haven't been attuned, then they're kind of worthless.
Exactly.
So it's almost like that energy, when you're being attuned, that's something that's being passed along person to person, and it almost kind of like links all of you together. Everybody who is attuned,
Yeah, kind of, because, for example, the wonderful person who attuned me placed those symbols in my energy. So because I'm not a master yet, I don't know what she was doing because my eyes were closed, but she did attune me and place those symbols that I needed in my energy, and then had me draw them so that I have them when I'm giving Reiki.
Right. So that's kind of interesting, because that's like that's something that's almost like an initiation. What you're calling like an attunement, it's almost like in witchcraft, when people are initiated, a lot of times when initiations happen, there's like a power that's passed down, and it goes, person to person to person to person for a lot of traditional type Wiccas or witchcrafts. It's almost like this Reiki is almost like the same thing, because that power that's been being passed down has been person to person to person for centuries, I would assume at this point. Which is totally amazing, because now you have to, I don't know if you even ever looked at it like this, but now you possess this energy that has been being passed down to thousands of people throughout the centuries. You could trace that all the way back to Usui.
And even before that, it's just he was the one who, he went looking for something that he knew was there and trying to find out how he could obtain it so that we could all start healing each other and healing ourselves. So it was something that was said to be there, that everybody knew was there, I guess, and he sort of brought it to, okay, now I have this knowledge and I know what it is. It was said that there's some things that you could read that will tell you that he went to Christians and said he wanted to learn this, and they said, no, we don't discuss this and we don't talk about this. And he went to other cultures and he was asking and inquiring, and nobody would tell him anything. And then he went to the Buddhist community and they told him, if you want this, you have to go on this journey. And that's the journey that he went on, and that's how he received it, and that's how he sort of brought it to everybody else. Okay. So it was sort of there.
And I you might have mentioned this, so I would have forgotten. When was he doing this? Like, when was this? Like 1950s, when was this?
The 1800s.
1800s? Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Wow. So that's amazing. So that must be like, I would imagine this whole practice is probably very powerful, especially considering it's been around for as long as it has, and longer, like who knows how long at this point. Right. But it's something that just grows, I would imagine, as each person, gets this energy and, passes it on to the next. That's totally cool. How many, so you had said, I know you had mentioned that you had been into this for a long time, but you just recently, in the last year, back in, when were you attuned? Back in February of this year?
Yes, it was February.
Yeah. So
yeah.
You must have been ecstatic that, being into it for so long, that you finally got a chance to be attuned. It must have been like...
It was one of the greatest days of my life. I was so excited. I was so grateful to actually have somebody take the time to go through this with me and teach me and get me to this point. It was seriously the second greatest day of my life. I was very excited. And then the fact that now I get to, I actually get to have people come over when they're, not feeling well or whatever it may be, whatever the reason is, and do this is amazing to me. And I love it. And I wish I could do it every day.
Very cool. So, so you also, I mentioned earlier that a lot of people into witchcraft and Wicca and whatnot, and the occult, a lot of people are very familiar with Reiki, and you yourself are into the occult, correct? Like, as a witch or a Wiccan. So,
yes.
I'll edit this part out. Is it okay if I mention that you're one of my students?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Anything you want, it's fine with me.
All right. So it's very cool because also, so one thing we didn't mention, but we'll mention it now, is that actually Andrea is one of my students in Gardnerian Witchcraft students. So she's like my granddaughter, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Yes. Grandpa.
But it's funny. So so I know that first day. So you said it was the second greatest day. I can imagine what the first greatest day was.
Yes.
So being an initiate, in Gardnerian. So yeah. So very cool. So let's see. Okay, so I know you had mentioned that people can be Reiki'd, and is this something that's pretty authentic? I think we were talking earlier, and you had mentioned that this is in hospitals and everything. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, actually, I'm going to go back a little bit about. I have to see. I think her name was it was Takara, or one of the people that stemmed down from Mikao Usui. She's in the hospital. She's having she had to have her gallbladder taken out. She did not want to. She was, and I want to say this is in, and I'd have to check this. I want to say this is in the 1920s, it maybe before, but around there sometime, I think. Anyway, so she's in the hospital, and she doesn't want to have this surgery. She just doesn't feel good about having the surgery. It's not as common as it is now. And she was terrified, and she waited till the last minute, and the doctors told her, you have to have the surgery, you're going to die. And so she's in the hospital, and she hears a voice in her head that says, you do not have to have this surgery. And so she's on the table, prepping for surgery, and she asks the surgeon, is there anything else that I can try? Anything else I can do? And he recommended Reiki. She did not have the surgery. She had Reiki sessions. It says how many she had. I don't remember. A few over a month or two, it might be. And she did not have to have the surgery in the end, and she ended up being okay.
Wow, very cool.
So that's, I don't know if you're going to find a doctor that's going to tell that to you today. However, I mean, you might, but there are doctors that can prescribe Reiki, and they're in a lot of the memorial hospitals around here in South Florida. They have Reiki clinics. In Florida, though, they integrate Reiki with massage when they're doing it in the hospitals. So if, or clinics or things like that. So the doctor can actually write a prescription for you to have a Reiki treatment, and it's going to be performed through massage. But they're doing it the same way with the symbols, everything, but that's their way of doing it in the hospitals.
Right.
So it's really extremely common, but what I found down here is it's more common that way. But I went to New York to visit my mom in Long Island in, I think, April. And on every corner, there was like a metaphysical shop that had a room in the back for Reiki sessions, tarot cards. I mean, it was incredible. And they don't have to incorporate it with massage in New York. So they can just do it with the licensing or the certifications like what I have. You can just have a Reiki shop there and perform it that way. But it is really everywhere.
Right. So I guess it falls under the umbrella of what do they call what do they call like those like medicine that's not directly medicine, it's stuff
holistic?
Yeah, I guess it falls under that umbrella.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because there are a lot of holistic doctors that practice Reiki as well. Yeah. So, but like I said, even in the medical hospitals here, they do it. They just do it a little bit different.
Right. Yep. So, yeah, I remember. So, well, let me ask this. So if somebody was to come to you for a Reiki session, what would they see?
Okay, so before they get here, I am going to clear the room of all the energy that's here. So I use sage and I sort of burn some incense and I clear out all the energy that's in this room. So you come in and there's going to be candles lit. This little lamp thing, which I've just got and I'm in love with it. That's going to be, I love this thing. It changes colors. So meditation music, very light, completely dark room. Not incense because of the smoke, but once all that clears out, I light like a little bit of oil, like maybe lavender oil or something. And you're going to lay on the table. It's like a massage table, but you're going to lay face up, clothing on. No shoes, no jewelry. And I'm going to talk to you for a little bit because I want to connect to your energy because I want to feel like we have a connection so that I can feel things. So you're gonna, get completely relaxed. I have this like lavender pillow that I suggest you put over your eyes like this. Most people do, some people don't. And you're gonna lay down. The first thing that I'm going to do is get rid of all your energy that you came in with, and just by sweeping it off. Just with my hands, sweeping it off. Sweeping. Then I'm going to scan your body and try to feel anywhere in your body that is the energy feels different. It could feel hot, it could feel cold, tingly, something. And I'm going to take my time and go through your whole body and see, because that's going to tell me that maybe there's a blockage or there's something wrong, or it could be just a blockage of energy, but it'll tell me that. Then I'm going to open your chakras. Then I'm going to stand behind you and I am going to actually talk to my guides. And I am going to ask them to sort of assist me and help me understand what you're going through and help me administer the Reiki and watch over me and make sure everything goes good. At that point, I will start with the symbols. I draw them on my hands and the roof of my mouth, and then I picture them one at a time over your body as you're laying here. And then I will go through and I will administer the Reiki throughout your whole body. When I'm done, I take Florida water and some oils, and that's how I turn it off. Okay. And I sort of wash my hands like this, and I'll talk to you. And I'll talk to you and I'll tell you what I felt, what I saw, what I think, and I'll go over your chakras with you as well.
Okay. So I guess when you do animals, you're doing all of that except for the talking part, or?
Yeah. I'm not lighting the candles and doing the incense with them, though. There's some treats and toys involved, but that's it.
I think it's really neat that it's something that's done with pets and stuff too. And I actually do know of a lot of people who actually do that with their pets, who actually do Reiki sessions with their pets and everything. So it's a very popular thing. So say somebody wanted to be a Reiki practitioner themselves, how could they pursue that?
So, you and I have talked before about the pagan community. So if you are in the pagan community, and chances are if you're watching this video, you are in the pagan community, or you know of it, or you know people in it. Reach out to people, see if you know a Reiki master, and see if they're willing to attune you. Chances are they will. They have schools everywhere that will teach you and get you to a master level, and they're going to charge you. I will be a master Reiki soon, so I will be attuning people as well. But it's basically just ask around, find people you know. If you can't do that, then I would start checking out some schools.
Yeah. So I think we were talking before, and you were saying that, like, to try to find somebody like you did in the pagan community, or somebody who actually is willing to do it, you're going to end up saving a lot of money than if you go to a school.
A lot. The schools around here that I have looked into, it ends up being, I think for your master level, like $25,000 or something. Wow. Insane. So if you can find somebody who's willing to do it, even I mean, some people will do it, in the pagan community and charge, but maybe not so much.
Right. It could be $2,500 by the time you get your master instead of $25,000, for instance.
Exactly. So I would definitely, just ask around. And I think sometimes like the schools maybe here in Florida charge that much because they're also doing like maybe a masseuse thing with it. I'm not sure. I think some of them do that. Yeah. But
honestly, it's just a matter of finding the right deal. I mean, and like you were saying, like usually there's a lot of times there's people in the pagan community, for instance, who are willing to share it. And for like when I did mine, I remember we paid like I want to say it was like $250 or $300 a piece, and that was like for just first degree. But I think by the time we would have made master, because they talked about it, then second degree was more money, and in third degree our master was more money. But I'm positive it wasn't more than a couple grand, for it to become a master. And the reality is by the time you've done this, you've become this person who you too can now. It's almost like it's a technique that can be shared, and you can make money on it in a sense. Well, not that you do it because of that, but it's like anything else. It's like being a masseuse. Again, it's a service to help somebody.
I'll tell you this: Reiki practitioners that open a business, because there are businesses everywhere, Reiki practitioners, and like myself, I enjoy doing it, and I did not want to be attuned so that I could make money off of people. However, if I could make my living doing nothing else but giving Reiki to people and pets, then I would, and many people do. It's Reiki practitioners, I'll tell you, in New York are making six figures. Yeah. And these are also a lot of them are in the pagan community, and they're witches and they're Wiccans, but that's what they do for a living, and they're doing it to help people, but that's how they make their living.
Yeah, probably also, amongst other things, mixed in with other things as well, so yeah, no, that's very cool. Okay, so let's go back to the degrees. So you were saying, explain the degrees again real quick, like how they work, because I was under the assumption you were a first degree practitioner, but you're actually second degree. I'm a little bit confused. Explain that.
Okay, sure. So when normally people do first and second degree at the same time. I mean, that's just the way I've seen it. I think the schools do it a little bit differently, so I'm not sure. However, first degree is when you learn about Reiki. So you're learning what Reiki is, you're learning how to administer Reiki, you're learning the hand positions, which is a really, it's an important thing because that's like the most important thing kind of to learn when you're doing Reiki is the different hand positions, like this, just sort of like how you're administering Reiki. And so that would be first degree.
Okay. Cool.
So second degree is when you become a practitioner. So now second degree, you are attuned to giving Reiki. So that's when you are attuned to being able to, administer Reiki to people, pets, plants, food, whatever it is. And so I'm actually a second degree working on my third, and the only difference between second and third being a master is as a master you can teach people.
Gotcha.
So like right now I can't attune you to be a practitioner,
right?
But I can give you Reiki. So once I become third degree or Reiki master, then I can make you a practitioner as well as give you Reiki. Gotcha. So that's the difference between the three.
Okay, that makes sense.
Also, one thing I didn't really mention is what happens when I'm giving you Reiki, okay? And how I'm, of course I put the symbols on my hands, but I'm also imagining the energy up here. Some people imagine a blue light and like a blue energy just coming through here. So when you're laying on the table and I'm standing behind you and I'm talking to my guides and I'm putting the symbols on my hands and in my mouth and imagining symbols, those are the light switches for the Reiki to be energized. But I'm also imagining the energy just coming through me, and I'm imagining it starting here, going through my whole body and filling up like filling up a cup with water. Yep. I'm filling myself up with this light blue energy, and then with the symbols on my hands, I'm administering that. So it's coming through me and coming through my hands, and that's how I'm giving it to you.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, and it was funny because I was so grateful, and I'm forever grateful to the person who attuned me. She's amazing, and she took time, and she did not have to do that, and she did it for me, and I'm forever grateful. That's my dog.
So that blue light I've actually spoke about many times in my previous videos, because to me that's a universal energy that comes through, and I've actually demonstrated it quite a few times.
And that's what life force energy is, and that's what Reiki is. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because like we were talking about, witchcraft and Wicca and Gardnerian Wicca, and once I after I became attuned with the Reiki, I went, wow, like I do this, we do this, I know what this is. It's familiar. It is exactly the same thing. This is the energy that we talk about. Yeah. This is the energy that we feel.
It's just a different way of directing
through us. Yeah. This is the energy.
Yeah.
And it's so hand in hand with everything, and for me personally, with everything in the last 2 years, it all came together for me. It all just sort of like, okay, wow, this, and then being initiated and all of these things, it all just came together full circle. And actually Sandra said that to me the other day. She goes, everything just came full circle, and she's 100%. It really did.
You get that feeling of like coming home, So
yeah.
It's like all of a sudden you fall into place in that peg.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I can't believe how similar everything is, and how it just falls right there, with being a Gardnerian witch.
Yeah.
It really does. It's great.
Okay, so, well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. We've been going for almost 40 minutes, believe it or not.
Wow.
So we are going to wrap this up. And do you have anything finalizations you want to spit out there? Anything good to go?
No, if anybody is interested or has any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them. So if you put my contact information, then anybody can reach out to me at any time, and I can either direct you in a direction or help you, or whatever you want.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll put down Andrea's information in the description below. So if anybody wants to get a hold of her back channel in some way or another, have her do it Facebook or email or whatever, it'll be below. And so that's gonna wrap up this episode of Witching and Working. Please, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and ring that little bell. So recently I just hit 19,000 people. We're working on 20,000 subscribers coming up. I'm actually gonna do a little special something for that 20,000 subscribers, where I might put a little thing to try to put something together for do a little special celebration. But that being said, please hit that subscribe button, ring that little bell, and choose all, and give me a thumbs up if you like this video and whatnot. And we will see you again soon on the next videos coming up in the near future. So I love you guys and gals, and see you later. Blessed be.